Benito Minolini was born in a tranquil plains village nestled within the nation of Anvil Blockler in the southern region of the Cid. Once an ardent member of the Blocksilist party, he advocated for war during Block War I, leading to his expulsion. Undeterred, he established the Fashstone Party, aspiring to ignite a Bloxianian uprising. Minolini quickly garnered support from villagers seeking a return to the prosperity of the Bloxian Empire's golden age. His promise of restoration ultimately paved the way for his rise to power as the first Fashstone dictator of the plains villages. Now, moving on to Germany. The villages of Germany were on the losing side of Block War I and faced extreme emerald deficits. The poverty of these villages turned the villagers radical to a point where they became pillagers and voted in Anvil Blockler of the Fashstone Bloxy party. He was beloved for being a German hero due to his past military service. After assuming chancellorship, Blockler created a blocktatorship with himself as its leader. He saw himself as the destined iron golem of the Germany plains villages. Moving on to the Empire of Japixel, they were a tiger village with ambitions to expand their influence into the taiga villages of Chinacraft. However, the allied villages of the plains and desert refused to let this happen. The villages of these nations, believing themselves to be racially superior to the others, formed a faction together to protect their interests. Blockler, with the annexation of the unsuspecting miners of Austria under his belt, felt encouraged to make his next move. The allied villages of Franciacraft and United Craftum seemed disinterested in opposing him and offered no resistance. Then Blockler set his sights on the stone-rich land of Czechoslovakia's Stoneheart Peaks, claiming the land due to its high population of ethnic Germans. The leaders of the allied villages met with Blockler, hoping to prevent further aggression on the Cid. In a desperate attempt to appease Blockler, they agreed to give him the chunks he wanted in exchange for peace. Despite their concession, Blockler showed no remorse and attacked the rest of Czechoslovakia with his formidable pillager army, seizing control of the entire country. The allied villages failed to intervene. Minolini seized the opportunity to invade Albloxia, aiming to gain control over the southern side water passage. Meanwhile, the Empire of Japixel took advantage of the chaos, orchestrating the minecart polo bridge incident. This incident served as a pretext for invading Chinacraft's tiger villages, further escalating tensions between the rival factions. The Empire of Japixel quickly overwhelmed Chinacraft, easily dismantling their rudimentary defenses. Chinacraft was defenseless, with no iron golems to protect their major villages. Turning our attention to Blockler, he had his sights set on a few seemingly insignificant chunks that stood between his territory and the Polska Plains Federation. However, the allied villages warned that such a move would be an act of war. Blockler, dismissive of their warnings, continued with his invasion, sending his pillager armies into battle. Thus began the Second Block War. Under the combined might of the Soviet tundra villages and Blockler's forces, the defenses of the Polska Plains villages crumbled under the intense onslaught. Despite the valiant efforts of the Polska Plains iron golems, they proved no match against the overwhelming invasion. It was during this time that the populace of the Polska Plains revealed a troubling trait. With a higher-than-average population of nitwits, these individuals became targets of discrimination by the regime of Blockler. They were deported to internment camps within the villages of Germany and Blockler's conquered territories. Blockler's attention shifted to Franciacraft, where he unleashed an army employing a devastating new strategy, Blockskrieg. This strategy quickly encircled and annihilated Franciacraft's villager army, leaving the Republic defenseless against the overwhelming forces of Blockler. Within a matter of weeks, Franciacraft fell, leaving the United Craftum isolated and facing the full might of Blockler's army. Despite the seemingly dire situation, the villagers of the United Craftum stood strong, bolstered by the support from their vast empire. Blockler, aware of this, launched Elytra brigades to cripple the United Craftum's aerial capabilities, which had taken refuge on an island near his army. However, the Elytra fighters from their allies demonstrated courage and resilience, holding their ground against Blockler's advances. Minolini's declaration of war further complicated the United Craftum's circumstances, intensifying their challenges and making the battle more arduous. With his Elytra and boat advantages staled, Blockler shifted his focus to land warfare and supported his ally Minolini in their assault on the Blockens region. Blockler also provided assistance in their desert village conflicts with the United Craftum. Once he had secured significant control over the plains Cid, Blockler turned his gaze towards the Soviet tundra villages, once his allies, now his potential targets. Fueled by a belief in the ethnic superiority of his pillagers, Blockler aimed to annihilate the tundra villagers and replace them with his own people. The campaign began with surprising success, as Blockler's use of Blitzkrieg tactics allowed his forces to push deep into the tundra villages. However, as winter set in, the cold weather posed a formidable challenge for the ill-equipped pillager army, hindering their progress and imposing harsh conditions upon them. Blockler had initially underestimated the resilience of the Soviet tundra villages, who exploited the harsh winter conditions to mount a successful counterattack. As the conflict continued, atrocities were taking place within Blockler's empire. Tens of thousands of innocent nitwits were being herded into makeshift concentration camps located deep within Blockler's territories. Here they faced horrific treatment and mass slaughter at the hands of pillager guards. The magnitude of this genocide, known as the Blockicide, stands as one of the most horrific events in the history of the Seed. Shifting our focus to the Empire of Japixel, their aggression in the Pacific region was rampant. They committed heinous atrocities against the tiger villagers of Chinacraft and gained control over many of the islands through their superior boating techniques. However, Japixel's expansionist ambitions led to a significant miscalculation. They targeted the diamond harbor of the United Chunks of Minecraft with Elytra TNT dropping brigades, damaging multiple boats and drawing the ire of the United Chunks of Minecraft. The United Chunks of Minecraft responded swiftly to the provocation, declaring war on the Empire of Japixel and its allied forces, Blockler and Minolini. The conflict escalated, extending over 3 more years. During this time, a significant chapter unfolded as the allied villages staged a powerful landing in the Normandy Chunks, aiming to liberate the Frontiercraft territory. Meanwhile, the Soviet tundra villages, with vital support from the United Chunks of Minecraft, notably in the form of military supplies like iron and wood, initiated a determined pushback against Blockler and his empire's oppression, signaling a turning point in the prolonged struggle. Blockler, facing defeat in the war, resorted to a desperate measure. He consumed a potion of withering and met his fate on the battlefield. His lost treasure remains a mystery. With the elimination of the Germany and Ital blockade, the Allied villages shifted their attention solely to the remaining threat of Japixel. In response, the United Chunks of Minecraft initiated the Manhattan Project, where they endeavored to harness the power of creepular fusion to create an unprecedented explosion. Through the creation of the most potent TNT weapon ever witnessed, the Blockbert Opencraft and Lapis Groves joining forces as members of the scientific coalition, the successful testing of the creepular bomb at Manhattan heralded a turning point. The bombing campaigns against the Empire of Japixel proved decisive, causing substantial damage and forcing their surrender. Despite the widespread destruction inflicted across multiple villages, the conflict finally came to an end. Allied villages celebrated the conclusion of this cataclysmic war with great fervor, marking the end of Block War II, the deadliest conflict in Seed history.